Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay Lemmer. I'm the Alder for District 3. I am here with Brian Munson of Vandewall. He is going to provide an overview of the Grandview Commons B Block development proposal. There was a Zoom meeting about this last Thursday, and not everyone could participate, unfortunately. So we wanted to have this recording available to go over what the project includes, the timeline for it, and make sure the greatest questions out there are answered for you. After watching this, if you have feedback or questions, please feel free to contact me at district3@cityofmadison.com. And with that, I am going to give it over to Brian Munson, and I'm going to give you the ability to share your screen if you've got some slides to share.
I do.
Great.
Well, thank you, Alder Lemmer. Again, Brian Munson with Vandewall Associates. Glad to be here to give kind of a summary of the neighborhood presentation here on behalf of DSI Real Estate to talk about a project that I think I shared with the neighborhood. We've been working on a few years. I've actually been working on Grandview Commons since 1998. And so it's good to see some of the process of getting the last pieces built come together. Specifically, and what I'll do is I'll share my screen here for just a second so that, let's see here, it is not letting me find the window. Let's see here.
Uh-oh.
I will just pull it up. Let's try it one more time and see if you can see this. Can you see the plan? Okay,
yes.
Good. Excellent. I will get this to full screen so it's a little more legible. So we're talking about the B block in Grandview Commons. So this is the town center piece, one of the last unbuilt pieces within the town center. And this has gone through a lot of discussion over many different iterations. And it's funny how it's kind of come a little bit full circle back to the original 1998 plan, which includes some additional residential and retail opportunities. So this block is across the street from the Great Dane, south of the Village Green, and then west of the Gemini Drive commercial pieces that are there today. And what we're going to talk about is, I'll pull up the site plan. So what we're looking at is to redesign the unbuilt portions of, let's see here, where we go here, full screen, there we go. The unbuilt portions of the B block. So currently in the southeast corner of the site is the B5 building, located right here in the corner. And that would continue to remain along with the parking. But instead of building out the balance of a block in a similar one-story retail format, the economics of today and retail and the challenges that it faces led the team to go back to the drawing board and look at different options. So what we are proposing would be 153 units of market rate or luxury apartments in a 6-story building. There would be commercial uses, 2 commercial suites, one at the southwest corner of the site, so at the corner of North Star and Cottage Grove Road, and then at the corner of North Star and Sharpsburg would be an additional commercial. The open space that flows east-west through the site would continue through the site, and then actually at the first floor here, this would be an open breezeway through the building. So you'd have an opening where you would see all the way through the building and have a plaza underneath the building above. The lobby would have an entrance here and an entrance out to the street. And then the balance of the building, predominantly residential building, made up of efficiencies, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and a few 3 bedrooms on the top floors. This building would be served by 2 layers of underground parking. So you'd have an entrance and an exit along the east side. You'd come through the parking lot, circulate down to a lower level. So we have, as you can see, 102 spaces on the lower level and 96 spaces on the upper level. This would be combined with the surface parking expansion so that the surface parking would extend all the way through and create a loop out to Gemini Drive to deliver both parking for the retail users and some guest parking. But predominantly, we expect a lot of our residents to use the underground parking. We would also be looking at expanding some of the parallel parking, the perpendicular parking out on Sharpsburg Drive, which would be available. And one of the questions that came up in the neighborhood plan is would we support those being signed for a 2-hour parking, which we would be fine with. We really see the parking on Sharpsburg being an opportunity to serve not just this building, but the other retail uses in the area. And so we would continue to expand upon that. In terms of the building itself, moving up from the first floor, we get into our first level of residential for the entire floor plate. We would also have a club room in the center and an outdoor patio space on the second floor. Again, if you think of the site, this is really at the top of the view out to the west and the Capitol. The building would then continue up through third through fourth floor plans, and then up to fifth and sixth floor plans where we start to have some of the larger views out in all directions. We also have some of our larger units up on the top 2 floors. This is kind of a breakdown. As I said, we've got 14 studios, 8 one-bedrooms, 2 one-bedroom plus den, 48 two-bedrooms, 2 three-bedrooms. So a pretty typical mix for residential within the building, adding up to a total of 153 units or 205 bedrooms. You can also see here is the commercial is 5,800 square feet and our parking ratios to go with that. Now, to explain the commercial a little bit, of course, commercials changed a lot, not just because we're all at home currently, but because just the impacts of the online shopping really has indicated that retail space out here is difficult to do. I think what you'd likely see in these spaces would be either restaurant uses or potentially some service uses in support of the neighborhood. And so we're excited to bring that in and really continue the retail focus along North Star. One of the things we did look at very closely is the potential for retail along Sharpsburg, but from an access, visibility, and just ability to absorb the square footage, we feel that the North Star frontage is a better location for that commercial use. Looking at the building itself, you can see some of the initial renderings. So this is looking from across the street at North Star and Sharpsburg, looking back, and you see a building that is a blend of stone, masonry, and then some hardy board siding. We tried to pick materials that would be both durable, create exciting architecture, and extend the character of the neighborhood without copying buildings. You know, one of the things we did in Grandview was to say that we don't want all the buildings to look like. We want to have diversity in architecture that reflect that they're built in different phases. And so this building really continues that. You can see here in this picture an example of what the stone material could look like. What we're looking at is a series of light brown natural materials of different sizes, so you really create some texture and interest on that facade. This building is an example of the masonry selection that we're looking at, so you can see the use of brick and the tones that go along with it. Stepping down then to the corner of Cottage Grove Road and North Star, you can see how the building comes out to the frontage there on Cottage Grove Road. We would have a similar wall system as what's across the street in front of the Great Dane, so you have steps up. Then you can see here the retail suite that would be on the corner. Then the building steps back a little bit and goes up to the 6 stories. Spinning around now to the Gemini Drive side, you can see the creation of the surface parking lot in support of the retail uses that are there and would be coming in this building, and also how the building wraps the facade along this edge of the architecture. And then finally spinning around the corner of Sharpsburg and Gemini, looking down, and this is a facade that we're still working a little bit on the first floor about, but you can see again how there really is no back to this building. We've made sure that all the architecture wraps all the way around. You can see band materials to break it both horizontally and vertically, and variation of colors and forms throughout the building. And then finally, the setting with the B5 building in the foreground, you can see how the entire block mass works out, and how the building is set back along Cottage Grove Road, but still maintains great views out in all directions. So you have the views to the Capitol, views to the east, as well as north-south, and then framing out the final piece of the Village Green. So I'm going to jump back to the site plan just briefly here. From a process standpoint, this is going to take a few years to achieve. We'll be entering into the approval process with a formal submittal in June 3rd. That strings out to an Urban Design Commission, Plan Commission, and Common Council review that would be completed roughly September 1st if everything follows the typical calendar, which currently the challenge is the calendars are a little different, but hopefully they will get easier as we go along. From a construction sense, our goal would be to break ground this winter and open the building sometime in the summer of 2022. A couple comments and questions that came up at the meeting, just to pass these along, again, reiterate. One was a question about the farmers market on Sharpsburg. Support. We actually worked very hard to make sure that it has space and got off the ground, and we think that is a great amenity, and so we support that continuing here, and this design would work just fine with traffic routing out to Gemini Drive and not having to have any impacts on terms of closing that block in front of the building for the farmers market. Hopefully someday the farmers market is so successful it has to expand out onto North Star Drive. Another question that was raised was in terms of traffic. And to kind of give a little bit of history of the site, when Grandview Commons was initially designed, this block was approved for up to 200 apartments. And so this is in keeping with what the infrastructure was designed for. So the lights at North Star and the lanes there and the intersection at Gemini and the reconstruction of Cottage Grove Road all anticipated various levels of traffic from retail and residential uses. And in talking with traffic engineering, they're comfortable that the infrastructure is in place to distribute the traffic. The other aspect about this is the design really functions off of Cottage Grove Road. So really in terms of traffic generation into the neighborhood to the north, there would be very little. More, you would see traffic coming from the neighborhood down, potentially getting to the retail and then returning. But you wouldn't see a lot of traffic generation from this project headed to the north. And that was intentional. We really tried to design the town center to function off of Cottage Grove Road, both for exposure and access to the region, but also to distribute traffic out to the region as effectively as possible. Overall, we're very excited about bringing this in. As I said, it's been a long road to get here. And so we appreciate the comments and feedback that we get along the way. We have submitted and we'll be getting some written comments back from the Urban Design Commission. We'll be potentially meeting with them next week to get feedback. There won't be any approval for that meeting, but it's an opportunity just to get some feedback on the architecture and the site plan and the directions, much like we've been gathering information from the neighborhood. So again, I really appreciate the chance to put this back on the record for folks who weren't able to log into the Zoom meeting. So hopefully the idea being we get more information out to everybody. And I really want to thank Alder Lemmer for this opportunity. So did I cover everything?
I think so. That was great. Thank you so much, Brian. And again, if you have feedback or questions, please email me at district3@cityofmadison.com. Thanks, everyone.